Hi, it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel, where I wipe away the stigma of mental illness by talking about my own struggles having borderline personality disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety and panic attacks, depression. I talk about narcissism and my narcissistic mother who abused me. I talk about schizophrenia. And I wrote a book about my schizophrenic father, Life with My Schizophrenic Father. The links to that book is down below in the details, and it's available on Amazon. I have written about many of my psychologists who are unethical, who sexually manipulated, abused me, and exploited me, and the links to those books too are down in the descriptions below in the title. But I only come on as a former patient of almost 20 years. I am not a licensed therapist. I do not hold a degree in psychology, so I cannot diagnose you or give you a professional opinion. All I ask in turn of you is your kindness and respect in the comments. Please be kind to me, be kind to other people in the comments. We don't need to agree on everything because variety is the spice of life, but we do need to always show respect and kindness. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome. Stick around, take a chance. Hit that little box there in the lower right hand corner that says subscribe. It's 100% free. So that way you'll be notified every time a new video of mine comes out. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Share it with your friends, family on social media. Let's grow this community. Let's get to know one another, be friends. Please share your struggles with me. I'd love to hear from you. Share what you're going through. Share your opinions. I answer everyone who comments. Now today we're going to talk about father wounds. I did a video a couple of days ago on mother wounds. So it was only appropriate that now I do a video on father wounds. What are father wounds? They're trauma unresolved from our relationship when we were children with our father. Why is it so important that we try to heal, restore ourselves? First of all, we have to admit we have father wounds. It's not always easy. And then we have to try to find ways to, heal from them. If we don't heal from our father wounds, they can profoundly impact our lives and relationships with men, especially if we're daughters from our fathers. Now, this is true with boys with fathers too, okay? But I'm concentrating on daughters with fathers because I was a daughter and I have a father wound. Even though my father's been dead for over 20 years now, I still carry that father wound because I have not worked on it in my therapy. I have not even owned up to it until very recently. So how does it profoundly impact a woman's life? Because I'm going to concentrate on a daughter with a father in this video, okay? I'm sorry if I'm leaving out men, but I can only speak from my own experience since I am not a male, okay? I am a female, so I am a daughter, so I can only speak as a daughter from my own father wound. And it profoundly impacts, who we allow in our lives, who we have relationships in, and what our boundaries are. I had very poor boundaries because of it. I let male psychologists abuse me because of my father wound, and I had no idea what I was doing and why I was doing it. So this is why it's really important to work on this stuff. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of fathers that leave a traumatic impact on their children, and I'm focusing primarily on daughters because that's what I've been through. Mentally ill fathers. My father had paranoid schizophrenia. He was very mentally ill. Substance abuse fathers who abuse alcohol, alcoholics or drug addicts. Abusive fathers. They can be sexually abusive, verbally abusive, physically abusive, emotionally abusive. So don't think that because your father didn't hit you or didn't yell at you, he could still be emotionally abusive, and you might not even be aware of that just by the way he's treating you. You know, because you live with it, you might not be aware that you were emotionally abused. Unreliable fathers that you can't depend on. They tell you they're going to pick you up from the mall or they're going to drive you to basketball practice, and they're always late or they don't show up. Or if you're in a divorce situation, they say they're going to, because I've known friends like this, whose father, she packed all her bags, was going to pick her up for the weekend, and she's waiting for her daddy and he never showed up. Or they don't show up at your birthday party. They're working, or they're too busy. It might not seem like, well, my father isn't abusive, he's a doctor, he has to work. But if they're unreliable to you at those crucial times in your life when you need them, that's a daddy wound. I'm just telling you. Or an absent father. My father was absent because because he left my mother, who was narcissistic. But we're not concentrating on the mother wounds now. On this video, it's the father wound. So, mentally ill, substance abuse, abusive, unreliable, or absent. Now, they can be a combination of these things too. The combination for me with my father wounds, what traumatized me is my father was mentally ill. He was in and out of mental hospitals all my life. So that made him unreliable, and it also made him absent. I never seen my father. My father was a compulsive gambler. So even though that's not a substance abuse, he was abusing something like gambling. You can have a father who abuses sex, a sex addict, even though it's not a substance. Like my father was a gambler, a compulsive gambler, and squandered large sums of money. So something like that, where they're abusing something, it doesn't always have to be a substance abuse. I was very afraid of my father. Like I said, he was unstable, unreliable, because 1 minute, if he took his medication, it would make him very very low key, like very placid, very slow to react. And that's why he didn't like to take his medication, because he said it was like, it dulled him so much. He couldn't feel anything, like it completely dulled all his senses. And who wants to go through life not really being able to feel the feelings? I mean, sure, like I drink alcohol to numb the bad feelings, but I don't drink alcohol the whole day. See what I'm saying? I don't want to be numb from the minute I get out of bed, the whole day long. At the end of my day, I like to have a few drinks so that, I can forget and calm myself, and then be like dulled, but not all day. I'm 100% sober, from the minute I get up in the morning all day long. I mean, I couldn't be doing these videos if I had been drinking. I do a lot of things. I don't want to feel that way all day, but my father didn't have a choice. When he was on the medication for the schizophrenia, he felt that way all day. He felt like, he was in a blur, and so he went off the medication, and then when he went off the medication, he started hearing voices. He started having delusions. He thought people were out to get him. He thought what people said on the TV or the radio were direct messages at him. And he started, becoming psychotic, like having fits, rageful fits. When someone is psychotic, they're out of touch with reality. So he'd be go into a rage and be very violent. He never was violent toward me, but he'd be violent toward other people. And I would see that. And as a little girl, I would be very scared of that. And when I went to my mother, because I was so frightened of my father, she would yell and scream at me and hit me and tell me, I have to deal with him. That's bad enough. But now you're going to cause me trouble, So it was like I was a burden to her because I was so scared of my father when he went into his psychotic fits when he went off the medication. So, even though, like I said, my father, I never saw him have a substance problem when I was living with him. He did have a gambling problem, so that's an addictive, that's an addiction. Mental illness. He wasn't ever abusive to me, but when a little girl sees her father lose control, that can be very, very frightening. And growing up with that kind of fear can be maddening, especially because I was an only child. I didn't have anyone. My mother was narcissistic, and she beat the crap out of me, and she abused me horrible. My father abandoned me too when I was a little girl. When I was like a baby, 2 years old, a toddler, he left for years. They were separated, and that's abandonment. He left the house. So these all, have a major, major impact on especially a woman growing up with a father, with father wounds, who had a traumatic childhood with her dad. Because your dad is the first man, in your life, right? That's the first male figure in your life. So what that's going to teach you, that's your first relationship with a man is your dad, So this is going to impact your life with other men, And it really has impacted my life. I've made very bad choices. I've got into relationships, especially having sex with my psychologist, because of unhealed father wounds. This is the reason I did. Some people have commented in the comments like, why did you do that? Why didn't you just walk out? Why did you have sex with him? Why did you allow him to do that? I didn't walk out, and I allowed my psychologist to sexually abuse me because of my unhealed father wounds. I'm just putting the pieces of the puzzle back together now. If you have made bad choices, if you're a woman, with men in your life, if you've given up on love, if you tell me every guy out there, is this, they only want sex, or they're insensitive, or they're jerks, or they're childish, or whatever, you fill in the blank. If you say that and you've been in one bad relationship after another bad relationship, chances are very, very high you have unhealed father wounds. That's why you're unconsciously picking these men because of your unhealed father wounds. This is why I let my psychologist abuse me. I wanted to fix my psychologist because I never could fix my dad. as a little girl, I felt responsible for my dad, and I never could fix him. You really ought to buy the book, Life with My Schizophrenic Father. I wrote a lot about that, my relationship. I'm not just trying to pitch my book here, but I really wrote a lot about my relationship with my dad in that book. So what happened was, in my therapy with my psychologist, there was a role reversal. I talked about this before, but what I didn't talk about is why that happened, why I allowed that is because of my unhealed father wounds. I was trying to fix my psychologist. It wasn't my job to fix my psychologist. He's supposed to help me because I couldn't fix my dad. And I was a little child. And the psychologist was an older male and in a position of power. My father was an older male in a position of power, being my parent. And the psychologist was in a position of power, being my father. And this is why this happened. And it was like a little light bulb went off in my head. You know, one of those aha moments with a little light bulb. And I said, this is why I allowed myself to be sexually exploited by 2 psychologists, because of my unhealed father wounds. And it's funny, I've been in therapy for almost 18 years, and I never once in all the years, in all the different therapies I've been in, ever discussed my father and my unhealed wounds from that relationship. It makes you wonder, about these therapists, Well, I didn't even know I was aware I had unhealed father wounds. I thought I was, suffering because of the abuse my mother gave me. But I said abuse doesn't always come in the form of black and blues or like that, or physical scars, what you can see. Abuse can run so much deeper, like if your father gave you the silent treatment and didn't talk to you, or was very critical of you, or you felt like your father didn't love you, you were unlovable. Maybe he wanted to have a son, and instead he had a daughter. Or maybe he wanted someone he could watch sports with, or play sports with, or play baseball with, or go to the games, the baseball, the basketball games with, and you weren't interested in that. Or maybe he couldn't relate to you because you were a girl. It's much easier for men to relate to sons, boys, because, sometimes fathers can be like afraid to even hold a baby, New dads can be afraid to even hold a baby, or a little girl, not know what to do. So I think it's very important to, go back and say to yourself, did my father have mental health issues? Did he have addiction? Was he abusive? And not just if he, you could say he never hit me, but not that. Did he ever make you feel bad? All right, think about that. I don't mean just hitting you. You could say, well, my father never hit me. My father was worked. Yeah, but was he a workaholic? Did he work so much he missed important dates in your life, like your birthday parties, or your communion, or your graduation, or, was he present in your life? These are things that you need to ask yourself, and then look at the type of men, if you're a woman. Look at the type of people that you're dating. Are you trying to fix them? Do the type of people you're dating need help, and you're trying to change them? This is all because of unhealed father wounds. We don't necessarily see it, but I realize it now, many, many years after the fact. This is what has happened to me, and now I can start to work on that. because I've acknowledged it first. So, ask yourself this, because once you heal from it and you can go to therapy and do therapy work, maybe you'll be luckier than me and find a good therapist who deals with parental wounds, both father wounds and mother wounds. Then you might make wiser choices going forward in your relationships. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have any father wounds. You can, if you want to share, I would love it. I love when people comment and tell me about what they're going through and how it affected their adulthood and their decisions about what relationships they formed. All right, until next time, take care.